I've never written a personal poem about myself. Coming here, I was almost urged by Breyten and Martin to write a personal poem. Poverty and racism were the footsteps leading to the horror of apartheid. My father was illiterate and my mother a domestic servant working for the white madam. There were no books, shelves filled with books in our house. Public libraries were only open for whites. My schoolmates were from houses that tended to their needs. I was 14 years old and in grade 10 when I left school. My consolation was that I was awarded 1 mark above the class mark. My teacher said I did not write a composition. I wrote a short story. I was amazed. For me, short stories were only in books, and how come I, at 14, had written a short story? When my schoolmates departed to their better off homes, I sold newspapers, and what I earned went towards what I earned gambling with dice. If lucky, I shared with my mother. It's a message. I was a messenger on a white newspaper. I was assisted by a reporter to take her books to the library. I was amazed to see all these racks of books. I made a fantastic statement that one day I would read every book. It only shows how foolish I was at that particular time. I started reading books with no apparent reason. It was just a book that I needed to devour because I knew I could read, and in the background where I came from, if you had read James Henley Chase, you were a reader. That was the style. Now I am reading books written by black writers, particularly in America. Richard Wright, Ralph Ellison, Baldwin, all that I could relate it to. Then on the political side, there were people like Ignatius Soloni. I'm sure you guys were from Europe would have known Ignatius Soloni. And then the Chilean writer, Hoffman, I think. I met him when he was giving a talk at the Fugard Theatre. I feel so honored that he signed the book that I had. Well, all these books sort of shaped me to where I think I was going. My whole intention was to finally write a book that would be published. I, in my rebellious way, brought out a collection of short stories called The Park and Other Stories. The park depicted as the main protagonist a little boy because of pigmentation. He could not enter a park. Blacks were not allowed in the park. His desperation got him to climb over the fence one evening and got onto the seesaw and finally on the swing. He soared to heaven's height on the swing. And then the attendant came with a torchlight urging him, you must get off or else the attendant will call the police. Now I became more and more persistent that I should only now write about political and social factors that affected the oppressed. I then considered writing poetry, because most people in my area, they don't, or they would not really be able to, they would relate to a short story, but not necessarily in words tell you the whole thing in its entirety. But now with poetry is a different situation. Even then, I decided I should not write poetry in the form of art for art's sake. I would not write a poem about the coming of dawn, or a bird in flight, or a flower open its petals. When I looked around, I saw people maimed, shackled, jailed. How could I then use words in what I would term poetry as a form of art? I was wrong, but it was not my determination to prove I'm a poet who writes poetry in that manner. My poetry became more and more dissident. I wrote, in cooperation with Glennis Thomas, a volume called Cry Rage. I'll just quote 2 or 3 lines. Rage sharp as a blade, to cut its flesh and spill blood, for the blood spilled over 300 years. The book was read in Parliament. It caused a controversy. They couldn't decide whether it was a book of poetry or a petrol bomb. They banned the book. Well, that meant the people of the government, special branch people, began having a closer look at what I'm up to. Then I edited a collection, Black Voices Shout, containing poems written by Wale Sorote, Sapamla, Mafika Bwala, and a few others. Also, a young guy that I was very proud of, 17 years old, and he was in the collection. And with Cry Rage, it lasted 2 weeks and it was banned. By then, I think the state had enough of me. I, with others, mainly students at UWC, we were sent on holiday to Victor Verster prison. So we spent 5 months in solitary confinement. It had its good points. Imagine there were 4 of you in the same cell and you did not like each other. And you were there for 5 months. It also gave me the chance to write my experience in poetry being detained. I brought out a collection titled Pass Me a Meatball Jones. My daughter took out some of the poems, and when I came out, I scrounged money, brought out the collection as normal. It was banned after 2 weeks. So I felt that I was correct in writing, in what I was writing, regardless of what might happen to us. I think Willie might agree. We will determine what we write regardless of the risk, regardless of going into detention or prison, or even to the extent that we might be killed by the system. It was just part of what we felt we need to do. Now, at a much later stage, at the year 2000, I actually wrote love poetry with a bundle of political poetry. One of the poems, I'll just quote one line. I am flushed with the lushness of love. that was geared for women. But now, with what is happening in our present government, with the amount of corruption, and nobody is convicted, they are just deployed to another department and what I term steal some more. So now I feel the wheel has turned. I should go back and write more dissident poetry.